Beginning around 2012, Amanda Riley very publicly documented her struggle with her declining health. Claiming she had stage 4 cancer and only months to live, her community rallied around her with their support and their money. There was only one problem: none of it was real, and her actions would later earn her time in prison as well as the infamous nickname SCAMANDA. Okay, hi, how's it going? This story is not usually what I focus on. I normally make videos about like old-timey mobsters and organized crime leaders, but I've said before that con artists have their place here too, and I wanted to do a more recent story just to sort of test the waters, so to speak. If you like it, let me know. If you hate it, also let me know. This lady, Jesus. I feel like I need to warn you that if you have dealt with cancer in any way, this may be a pretty upsetting video to watch. We are talking about SCAMANDA, the lady that faked having terminal cancer to con people out of a lot of money. I feel like faking cancer is the absolute worst bad karma. Like, why would you speak that into existence for yourself? I don't know. I normally try and sort of look at both sides of the story in my videos, but this case is despicable all around. Now, if you want the very long form, drawn out version of events, I highly recommend the SCAMANDA podcast and also the Hulu series. Both were great resources in helping me research this, so definitely look into those. But if you want the more condensed chronological order version, then without further rambling, this is the tale of SCAMANDA. Now, all of the major events of this case started around 2012, but to get the full scope here, we need to go all the way back to Amanda Riley's childhood in the 90s. Childhood friends of hers would later say that she would apparently tell little white lies about herself all the time just to seem more interesting. She would say things like her family had annual passes to Disneyland and that she was ambidextrous. And none of it was true, but she was obviously a child, and these are all really small, inconsequential sort of things, so it's nothing to really call her out over. I just thought I would add it so that we can see that this type of behavior has seemingly always been natural to Amanda. So now we move to 2002. Amanda is a 17-year-old college student in the very affluent Bay Area of California, and this is when she meets the Riley family. Now, the Riley family are Corey and Alita. They are husband and wife, and they have 2 children. So they have a 6-month-old daughter, Jessa, and they also have Alita's daughter from a previous marriage named Jamie, who has just been diagnosed with leukemia at only 8 years old. Now, unfortunately, Jamie doesn't get to socialize with people a whole lot. She doesn't go to school because her immune system is so weak it could be dangerous for her. So Corey and Alita had been looking for someone to just sort of come over and bring some fun and some normalcy to Jamie, teach her how to cheer and dance. And Alita's sister knew Amanda from her gym, so she recommended her, thought she'd be perfect. And the thing is, she took up so well with the Riley family. Maybe a little too well. She was always there, she was always around, and as the girls grew, they saw her as this cool older friend. Eventually, Amanda would even come with them to family outings and gatherings. But what do we always say? Things can never go well for too long. Now, the year is unclear, but by doing some simple additions and subtractions, I was able to figure that this part probably would have taken place around 2006, 2007. The thing I couldn't figure out, though, was why. Because out of seemingly nowhere, Corey walked out on his family, on Alita and the kids. And apparently he didn't even talk to Alita, just packed his bags and left one day while she was at work, and then later filed for divorce. But still, Amanda seemed to be a constant in the family's lives, and it soon turned very strange. It's unclear when the relationship started, but at some point between 2007 and 2010, so when Amanda is in her early to mid-20s, if not even before, Corey and Amanda begin a relationship. And this is, of course, shocking to everyone involved. I mean, this is a girl that you brought into your family home when she was 17 years old. Corey was 12 years older, and I have nothing against age gap relationships whatsoever, but Corey obviously met Amanda when she was very young. Now, in 2010, Corey and Amanda meet another couple who will be very important to this story. And they are an older couple named Lisa and Steve Barry. So November of the same year, allegedly Lisa and Amanda are just hanging out one day, talking, and Lisa casually brings up a man in their community. She said that he had cancer and that the community really rallied around him and supported him. And they threw him this big fundraiser where they were able to raise about $100,000 for his family, which is obviously incredible. But this is where things take a dark turn. I should have done my eyes first, and I know that, but I didn't know I was going to be doing a tape look until I just decided just now. So the very next day, after Lisa and Amanda have this talk, Amanda tells Lisa that she has cancer and that she is going to have a lot of medical bills. The very next day, like, be more conspicuous. So this is when the cancer tale begins for Amanda in 2010, and the Barrys start helping with anything that they need. And they also help Amanda financially. And in April 2011, Amanda and Corey get married. So this is when Amanda becomes Amanda Riley. And apparently she had told Lisa that this big bridal magazine was going to be covering her wedding. She also apparently at one point told Lisa that she was a student at Stanford, like the Ivy League school for super geniuses, and obviously none of that was true. It's like lying blindness. Like, she genuinely doesn't see how ridiculous she's being. Like, can you hear yourself? So in August of that same year, 2011, Corey is sitting down with Steve, and Steve can kind of tell that something is wrong with Corey. And Corey tells Steve that Amanda's cancer has now progressed to stage 4, and she now has roughly 4 to 6 months to live, which would be absolutely horrific if it were true. Now, at some point, I believe shortly after this, not sure, but Amanda went over to Lisa's house after a doctor's appointment. So they were swimming in Lisa's pool, and Lisa noticed that Amanda had one of those small little round band-aids right behind her ear. So Lisa asks her, she says, "Hey, what's going on with the band-aid?" And Amanda tells her that she has just had fluid drained off of her brain. And this raised a huge red flag to Lisa, because here Amanda is having just had fluid drained off of her brain, and she's swimming underwater completely submerged. So Lisa has a friend who works in oncology, aka like cancer care, and she asks her if this would be at all possible, if she could be swimming underwater after having fluid drained, and her friend said absolutely not. After that, Lisa decides to cut Corey and Amanda off. She is sick of the lies. They are no longer friends. And I'm taking this tape off because it is a sensory nightmare. Oh, look at the line. Oh, that's nice. So meanwhile, around the 2011 point, a vicious custody battle begins. So Corey and Alita's daughter Jessa is probably about 9 years old at this point. So Alita, Corey's ex-wife, had checked her mail one day, and Corey had filed paperwork to get himself and Amanda full custody of Jessa. And they would do anything, including ruin Alita's life and reputation, to get it. At one point, Amanda even texted Alita and said that legally Amanda is Jessa's mother and Alita is just the birth mother. Like, going for custody of someone else's kid is bad enough, but who even says that? Like, who is that evil? So now this custody battle is another really messed up layer to this story. But in 2012, a miracle happens and Amanda finds out that she is pregnant. Now remember, she's apparently terminally ill also. So at this point, she tries to get in touch with Lisa, her friend who had cut her off, but Lisa won't answer the phone. Gee, wonder why. So Amanda starts calling around and calling Lisa's family, which is pretty weird. So Lisa's thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to talk to her at some point. So Lisa calls Amanda, and Amanda tells Lisa that she is pregnant. To which Lisa responds so calmly with, "I thought you were dying." And Amanda tells Lisa, wait for it because oh my God, Amanda tells Lisa that the pregnancy is reversing the disease. Sure, that's absolutely how cancer works. I genuinely do not know what to say. Like, she's so shameless with her lies, I don't understand it. So anyway, this is the last time that Lisa ever spoke to Amanda. Can we blame her? Now, in the same year, Amanda has the child, her and Corey's first son, when she is about 27-ish years old. He's perfectly healthy. What a miracle. And again, in the same year, 2012, this is when she starts her infamous blog. And this was basically the hub to update everyone on how she's doing, as well as document her 100% fake cancer journey. Excuse me, allegedly 100% fake. And this is, to investigators at least, this is when Amanda becomes Scamanda. And it's confusing because she would say that she was first diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma 3 days after giving birth to her son in 2012. But she apparently told Lisa and Steve that she had cancer in 2010. So one of y'all is lying, and I think we know who it is. So even though Lisa is not in contact with Amanda, she's still reading this blog and she's thinking this is not adding up. And I need to tell you, this blog is nowhere to be found anymore. Apparently it's been like scrubbed off the internet. But B, it was nuts. The lengths that Amanda went to fake her cancer was unbelievable. She named all of the hospitals she would go to. She would post pictures with her with IVs, her getting treatment, her with her medicines. But the medicines were always turned like just barely enough so that you couldn't really tell for sure what it was. You just had to take her word for it. It was just on another level. And here's the thing, to the everyday person, it would have looked entirely too elaborate to be fake. In my opinion, I think that was the plan all along. If it's intricate enough, who's gonna call BS? And who's gonna doubt a young Christian mother being diagnosed with cancer in the first place? Anyway, her first blog in October 2012 was basically just her introducing herself, sharing her story of being diagnosed after giving birth, and documenting her treatment journey. And this blog blew up quick. People related to her story, and real cancer patients used her blog as a resource themselves. People would make signs that said like hashtag Team Amanda, and she really leaned into that. She would repost them, she would call her followers Team Amanda. But the attention she was getting from the blog was not enough, and you'll see that's a recurring theme with Amanda. Nothing is ever enough. And around this time, she got heavily involved with the church. And this was not a little humble small town church. This was a mega church with 5,000 members, and I believe she saw dollar signs. Family Community Church in San Jose, California. Amanda would, in my opinion, leverage her popularity into basically becoming the face of the church. She would get on stage and preach about her journey in front of thousands of people. She would even make videos for the church's social media accounts. She became this local celebrity, and over the years, she would preach about being terminal and then being in remission, but she never looked sick. She would shave her head, but she obviously still had eyebrows and eyelashes, which is like, why would you not do something about that too? I don't know, but her skin was always nice and plump. She was at a healthy weight. She never looked like she had cancer. And when she would shave her head, the hair would just grow right back. But to the church, this narrative that this woman was a walking miracle, that she was proof of what God could do, was stronger than any doubt. It's the perfect crime. It's like Amanda knew exactly who to target, and she always brought up how much they were struggling financially. Once at the church, she was brought on stage with Corey, and the pastor decided to do a love offering. So people, literally thousands of people, came up and threw money at their feet. And even outside of church, people had began gifting her so many things: cash, gift cards, meal trains, even airline miles. And in May 2013, Amanda shared the incredible news that she had won her battle with cancer. And I'll be honest, this was probably not the first time. She claimed to be terminal and then in remission and then terminal again so many times, and it was really hard to keep up with. But after relapsing again at one point, Corey and Amanda filed for bankruptcy, citing her cancer treatments as the cause. Which is really strange because at this point, people are donating anything you could think of. But again, nothing is ever enough. Anyway, and they present a false medical bill for $280,000. Now, in September 2013, a new front page is added to her blog, and it links to a website called supportamanda.com. Visitors can donate directly to Amanda's bank account, and you can even set up monthly automated payments. How convenient. Meanwhile, she's also blogging about the custody battle over Jessa. Weirdly enough, like, making a fake cancer blog is weird and gross enough, but bringing a literal child into it and blogging about this very real custody battle is crazy. But the narrative was very much this poor, sick Christian woman dealing with her husband's crazy ex. Amanda and Corey went on this whole smear campaign against Alita, and unfreaking fortunately, it worked. Because at some point around 2013 or 2014 maybe, when Jessa was 11 years old, Corey and Amanda got full custody. And Alita felt genuinely awful for Amanda having cancer, but she wondered how the added responsibility of another child made any sense, because it didn't. But it's about to really not make sense, because in the fall of 2013, Amanda is pregnant once again, and she calls him her miracle baby. Apparently, doctors had told her that after her many rounds of chemo that it was impossible. She even allegedly told her maternity photographer that she had an IUD because she knew the dangers of being pregnant while having chemo. But Amanda was a walking miracle. Of course that didn't apply to her. Okay, listen to this. She also allegedly told her babysitter that her doctor had said that she could stop treatments while she was pregnant and then resume them after. Which, again, I don't think that's how it works, but Amanda is the definition of delusional. Also, apparently at some point during this pregnancy, she beat cancer again and then relapsed again. Nevertheless, she gave birth to another healthy baby boy in April 2014. So now we skip ahead to 2015, and this is where everything starts hitting the fan. So it wasn't just individuals supporting Amanda, it was also organizations and big businesses. Sports teams were holding fundraisers for her, cancer organizations, even Chili's. In June 2015, Chili's restaurants held events for her at 4 locations, donating 20% of every check straight to Amanda. Celebrities were even gifting her things. Like, the scope of her scheme was huge. But that same month, a woman by the name of Nancy Moscatello enters the chat. Now, she is an investigative producer for TV, and she was working on a crime show about to launch, so she was looking for scam stories to feature. So one day in June, she gets an email from an anonymous source saying that someone local to them is faking cancer for monetary gain. And this anonymous tipster sent Nancy a link to the blog. By the way, guess who the anonymous tipster was? I'll give you 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. It was Lisa Berry, the I thought you were dying friend, and good for her, honestly. Anyway, this hit home for Nancy because she had lost her sister to cancer. But because of this, she knew quite a bit about treatments and cancer-related things. So she started investigating the blog and realized pretty quickly that, yeah, things were not adding up. But obviously she can't just go accuse someone of not having cancer because it's, you know, a douche move at best and career ending at worst. So she went through every blog post for the last 3 years until eventually she was seeing the blog posts in real time. So Nancy starts digging into Amanda's past and she finds the custody case that is still going on. And in August 2015, she decides to contact Alita. Now, she's being very vague and cautious with her questions, and Alita says that she does really feel bad for Amanda's cancer, but that they are always lying. And Nancy, at that point, feels comfortable enough to tell Alita sort of what's going on. And Alita, of course, was shocked, but like she said, they're always lying, apparently. So now, in September 2015, Nancy decides to reach out to the Financial Fraud Unit of San Jose Police Department. She turned her evidence over to Detective Jose Martinez, and he was all in. Now, he knew that they would have to be cautious, and also that HIPAA laws would make this incredibly difficult to investigate. You can't just access someone's medical info without a warrant. But what he does do is go to the church. So he goes to talk to the pastor, who passes him off to his daughter, who is an attorney. Great start. But he leaves with a whole lot of nothing. But of course, word got back to Amanda and she lawyered up, which is always a great look. So her lawyer contacted Detective Martinez, told him to leave her alone, and he sent him proof of her cancer, which was a forged doctor's note. And at this point, Detective Martinez knows that he has a case. Now, wouldn't you think that at this point, Amanda knows that the jig is up? You would think that she would lay low and just hope and pray that this all blows over. And you would be wrong, because she just digs in deeper and her claims get even crazier. Now, digging through the blog, Nancy started to realize things like Amanda would claim to be on medicines that the doctors would not have prescribed in conjunction with each other. She would claim to be part of clinical trials that were not happening. Now, October 2015, Amanda claims that she is doing a clinical trial for Keytruda. And according to her blog, this is the last hope. It's this or nothing. Everything was always life or death. But of course, Keytruda was $1,250 every 3 weeks, and she had to travel to New York, so she needed her followers to help her make it happen. And they did. One friend of hers gave her $3,000, a place to stay in New York, and even airline points for her plane ticket. And she really did go to the hospital in New York. She was determined to keep up this charade. But how she was pulling this off was that she would make appointments or go to the ER for various ailments, whether she be dehydrated or anything really. And once she was in the hospital, she would apparently sneak around and take whatever photos she needed to. It's something that a normal everyday person would never do, but someone faking cancer absolutely would. So now she's part of this trial, but around the holidays, she blogged that her doctors were letting her inject her chemo herself at home so she wouldn't have to travel. Yes, really. So of course, Nancy and Detective Martinez are having a field day with this. They know that that is not how trials or chemo work. And Nancy decides to call up the hospital. Now, she cannot ask about Amanda, again because of patient confidentiality laws, but she can ask about trials and other things. So she asks if they would allow someone to inject Keytruda themselves as part of a trial, and they said absolutely not. They also said that there was not even a Keytruda trial happening at that time. And there were a lot of other times that Amanda's claims could be pretty easily picked apart. And it's strange because for all of the details that Amanda blogged, the one thing she never ever shared was the name of her doctor. Anyway, at this point, Detective Martinez knows that he needs federal reach, so he takes the case to the IRS. And in February 2016, Special Agent Arlette Lee takes the case, and this is personal for her as well. She also had a sister with cancer who did end up passing away. And here's the thing, lying and saying you have cancer is not illegal. It's bad karma and it's evil, but it's not illegal. But lying for monetary gain is absolutely illegal, and using that lie to solicit donations through a website is wire fraud. But now, because this is a federal case, Nancy and Alita could not be told any more information, only that the wheels of justice turn slowly. But Agent Lee was able to subpoena every single facility in Amanda's blog to get her medical records. She went through thousands and thousands of pages, and nothing ever said Amanda had cancer. See, the amount of detail that Amanda went into was a double-edged sword. It made her lie look entirely convincing, but it also helped detectives unravel her story. Agent Lee also tracked over $100,000 in website and check donations, but she obviously could not trace cash or physical gifts. Meanwhile, with Amanda being under investigation, Alita was able to take this to the judge, and she got back full custody of Jessa, who was now 13, in July 2016. But as far as the investigation, all she and Nancy could do was just wait and hope for something to come of it. So Amanda leveraged the only thing that she had left at this point, her blog. She was blogging constantly about the enemy trying to ruin her life. At some point, the church even cut her off and stopped donating to her, so she just stopped going because what's the point now, right? And in September 2016, everything comes to a head when the Riley home is raided. Now, apparently Nancy found out that this was going to be happening and she told Alita, so they were actually there watching from the car, which is so satisfying. Right before sunrise, SWAT teams and IRS agents swarmed the home, taking out boxes, IV poles, oxygen tanks, various other medical equipment. And Amanda was eerily calm. There was no real reaction. She wasn't nervous. She just sat quietly. But as the raid became public knowledge, there was obviously quite the reaction. Everyone is questioning her, and her response is that this is all because of tax evasion, that she didn't know that she was supposed to pay taxes on donations. But she also blamed Alita and claimed it was this big plot that she had going on. I don't know. But Amanda is not under arrest yet, so she is free to go about her life for now. And if you thought that her home being literally raided would stop her, again, you'd be wrong. So in 2016, she begins teaching, and in 2017, she moves to this private Christian academy and becomes their principal. And this new school is her new target, her new megachurch. Now at this point, she had claimed to be in remission once again, and then the school put on this fundraiser for a teacher who actually did have cancer. And what did Amanda do? She allegedly relapsed once again. So the school put on another fundraiser for the both of them and raised thousands of dollars. So Nancy gets wind of this, and some of her colleagues call the school just asking casual questions about their principal. But Amanda hears of this and she knows that it is Nancy. So September 1st, she slaps Nancy with a civil harassment lawsuit and a restraining order to keep Nancy from contacting anybody Amanda knows. At this point, she's also saying that Nancy was hired by Alita to spread false allegations. Anyway, now to win this lawsuit, all Amanda had to do was prove she had cancer. And could she do that? No. So everything kept getting postponed because she was in the hospital, but in 2018, Nancy won the lawsuit. And from there, things would just pile on to Amanda, finally. In 2020, Agent Lee officially filed the complaint, and Amanda was arrested and indicted for wire fraud, and a press release went out. And at this time, everyone who donated to the website got an email saying that they were victims of wire fraud by Amanda Riley. And her friends were shocked does not even begin to begin. And soon this story was everywhere. It was a viral sensation. But sadly, because the physical gifts couldn't be traced, legally speaking, the only victims were the people who donated through the website. Amanda initially pled not guilty, of course, but in October 2021, she changed her plea to guilty. Her recommended sentence was 18 months, and a lot of her victims, of course, didn't believe that was enough. And apparently, neither did the judge, because in May 2022, Amanda was sentenced to 5 years in prison, 3 years supervised release, and then ordered to pay restitution to her victims. And the judge did give a statement saying that she came down so hard on Amanda because she thought that the public was in danger because Amanda absolutely would do this again. And you are not going to believe this, but she did. After her sentencing in May, she wouldn't go to prison until September, so there was a gap of a few months. So the family moved to Texas because that's where Amanda would be going to prison, and she started her whole ruse again in Texas. Like, can you believe it? She started going to all these different hospitals claiming that she was sick with cancer, and it was so obvious that she was at it again. And why? What is she going to gain? Like, she's about to go to prison. Anyway, hospitals in Texas apparently have some sort of internal database that allows them to communicate with each other. So when people hospital hop like this, a flag is thrown in the system, and ultimately she was stopped. Amanda Riley went to prison in September 2022, and in December 2024, she was transferred to a residential reentry center. Also in 2024, Corey filed for divorce. But the good news is that Jamie is about 20 years cancer-free, and Alita and Jessa are closer than ever, which is wonderful. Alita deserves a win. Overall, Amanda got 447 website donations totaling about $60K, and a bunch of check donations totaling about $46K. So in all, about $106,000, and that is not even including all the cash, gift cards, all that stuff she got. There's no telling how much she actually took, but financial crime aside, this is morally horrific. At one point, she even told her own kids that they would have to have surgery to extract bone marrow to give to her and save her life. And the other teacher from the joint fundraiser at the school ended up passing away. I don't understand what type of person doesn't just crumble under the guilt of all this. Like, people prayed for you, your children were terrified thinking that their mom is gonna die. People are terrible. The end. I guess the silver lining is that Alita and her family are doing well. I honestly think Amanda wanted to be Alita. Like, she wanted her husband, she wanted her daughter. It's creepy. Anyway, Amanda is set to get out relatively soon, and she's been claiming to have health problems even in prison, so we'll see what happens. And that is all I have for today. I just want to know who else was in on this. Like, surely her husband Corey knew? I mean, he did claim that he was there at chemo appointments with her, which was obviously a lie since there were no chemo appointments. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for coming over, and as always, if you have any story ideas, please feel free to comment them so I can see what you want to see, and with that, I will see you next week. Toodaloo!